The screen flickered once, then updated. Elena stared at the number, her breath caught somewhere between disbelief and fear. Just seconds ago, her balance had been $23. Now it wasn't. It couldn't be, because what she was looking at made no sense. And yet, there it was. The ATM screen glowed back at her with a number that changed everything. And what made it even more unsettling was the timestamp, because whatever had just happened had happened after she prayed. What happened next would leave even the bank unable to fully explain it. But to understand how Elena ended up in that parking lot, staring at that screen like it had just rewritten her life, we have to go back a few hours earlier. The day had started the way too many had lately, with silence. No notifications, no emails, no missed calls. Elena sat at her kitchen table, staring at her phone like it might suddenly come alive if she waited long enough. It didn't. 3 months. 3 months of interviews that went nowhere. 3 months of, "We'll be in touch." 3 months of watching her savings disappear, one bill at a time. Behind her, Marcus and Lily sat quietly, eating cereal that had more air than crunch. They didn't complain anymore. That was somehow worse. Elena forced a smile. "Big day today," she said, trying to make her voice sound lighter than it felt. Marcus looked up. "Did they call back?" The question landed heavier than he meant it to. Elena shook her head gently. "Not yet." But she checked her phone again anyway. Nothing. A small silence filled the room. And then Lily asked softly, "Are we going to be okay?" Elena didn't answer right away, because for the first time, she wasn't sure. By late afternoon, the weight of everything had settled in. The final notice sat on the counter like it belonged there. Electricity, due tomorrow. No extensions left. No more promises. Just a deadline. Elena picked it up, read it again, even though she already knew every word. Her phone buzzed. Her heart jumped. Unknown number. She answered immediately. "Hello?" A pause, then, "Hi, this is regarding your recent application." Her chest tightened. "We've decided to move forward with another candidate." Something inside her didn't break. It just went quiet. "Thank you," she said automatically, even as her fingers tightened around the phone. When the call ended, she didn't move, didn't cry, didn't react, just stood there. Because sometimes disappointment doesn't come like a wave. Sometimes it comes like silence. By evening, the house felt different, dimmer, smaller, like the walls were closing in just enough to remind her she was running out of space and time. She looked at the kids. They were tired, hungry again, trying not to show it. That was the moment she made a decision. "Let's go for a drive," she said. Marcus looked confused. "Where?" Elena grabbed her keys. "Just a drive." The parking lot was nearly empty. One flickering streetlight, one humming ATM machine, and one car with 2 sleeping children in the back seat. Elena stepped out slowly, closing the door as quietly as she could. The night air hit her face, cool and still. She walked to the ATM, inserted her card, typed her PIN. Her hands trembled slightly. Balance, $23.17. She swallowed, then selected withdrawal. $20. The machine whirred, counted, dispensed. She took the money, held it, looked at it like it might somehow multiply if she stared long enough. It didn't. Behind her the car sat in silence. Inside it, everything she was fighting for. Elena leaned her forehead against the cold metal of the ATM, and for the first time in a long time, she spoke out loud. "I don't know what to do anymore." Her voice cracked on the last word. There was no one around, no audience, no one to hear her, and maybe that's why she kept going. "I've tried everything." Her hands pressed against the machine like she needed something solid to hold her up. "I've done everything right. I've worked, I've applied, I've waited." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I can't lose this." The wind moved slightly through the empty lot. "I just need something, anything." A pause, then, "Please." It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it was quiet, honest, and completely exhausted. For a moment, nothing happened. No sound, no sign, just the low hum of the machine. Elena exhaled slowly, shook her head. She almost laughed, because part of her had expected something, a feeling, a sign, something. But there was nothing, just a parking lot, a machine, and $20. She wiped her eyes quickly, turned back to the screen, and pressed check balance. The screen flickered, once, twice, then updated. Elena blinked, looked again, because it didn't make sense. It couldn't. The number had changed, not by a few dollars, not by a mistake, but by enough to cover everything. The bill, groceries, gas, breathing room. Her heart started racing. She checked the transaction history. There it was. A deposit, processed, completed, timestamp, moments ago. Her hands trembled as she stared at it, because that wasn't the part that confused her. The part that confused her was this. The deposit wasn't new. It was labeled as a refund from years ago. The next morning, Elena went to the bank. She didn't sleep. Couldn't. Her mind kept replaying the screen, the number, the timestamp, the moment. The bank teller was polite, calm, routine, until Elena explained, "I need to understand this deposit." The teller typed, paused, frowned slightly. "Give me a moment." More typing, then, "That's unusual." Elena leaned forward. "What do you mean?" The teller turned the screen slightly. "This refund was issued 4 years ago." Elena blinked. "But it was just processed last night." The teller nodded slowly. "That's what it says." A pause, then quietly, "It shouldn't have been delayed this long." Elena felt something shift in her chest. "Can you see when it was released?" The teller checked again. Another pause. Then, "It processed at 9:42 p.m." Elena's breath caught because she knew exactly where she was at 9:42 p.m. She was standing in a parking lot, leaning against an ATM, whispering a prayer she wasn't even sure anyone would hear. Weeks passed. Things changed. Not instantly, not perfectly, but steadily. A job offer came through, then another opportunity, then stability. Life didn't just improve, it shifted. But that moment stayed with her, not because of the money, but because of the timing, because of the way everything lined up, because of how something that had been delayed for years arrived in the exact moment she needed it most. Some people would call it coincidence, a delayed system, a random correction, but Elena never saw it that way. Because she remembers the silence of that parking lot, the weight of that moment, and the exact second everything changed. Sometimes the breakthrough doesn't come when we expect it. It comes when we've run out of strength to keep going. And yet, somehow, we do. If this story moved you, take a moment to like, share, and follow Lanes and Lanterns for more stories like this. And tell us in the comments, have you ever experienced a moment where something changed right when you needed it most?